I'm a virgin.
I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin.
Not only is my diet pure, I only eat raw fruits and vegetables. It's been 12 years that I've only done that. But I'm sexually pure.
I mean, really. People like to disrespect my crew, but the fact is that you know my name and I don't know you.
So Isel,
Get on the mic. Get on the mic and kill it.
Take the lead here. This is something that you've said, so I can't claim that it's my original thought, but I think what she's doing is mistaking weakness as strength. And really focusing on this aspect of purity as something that she's so proud of. You know, before we even clicked on the video, I felt like I would be more sympathetic to the video, to what she had to say, and you can see in the start of this video, I was like,
"It's funny because you're quoting me."
You know, I'll listen to what she has to say.
No, it's one of my catchphrases, but you're dead right. I didn't think of that at all. But I'm thinking about not just what she said, but the way that she said it. You're right. She is trying to convince herself that weakness is strength. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean. So she's focusing on this sexual purity and that she's really proud that she's made it to this point in her life, that if it hasn't felt right in the relationship that she was in, she wasn't going to give up her virginity. This to me, is just mistaking. I guess what I'm trying to say is, she's had all these experiences in relationships. You know, she goes through and talks about the heartbreak that she's had. I think it's totally, absolutely possible to have a very deep, meaningful relationship, to fall in love with someone and have your heart broken without having sex. But why is it such a bad thing that people, she complains that men are trying to, so quickly in a relationship, have sex. To me, this was totally natural when I was finally had a boyfriend, when I was 17 turning 18. It was so natural for me to want to have sex as soon as possible because right. This is my first experience with it. I finally have a boyfriend, I've gone through all these high school years no boyfriend, and had been totally focused on studying and school and stuff. I was fucking ready. Sorry, for swearing in this. Don't. It'll be demonetized anyway, right? But yeah, no, I mean, it's totally natural, and she says, I'm somebody who's very sexual. I have these sexual urges. So why do you want to stop there? I think it's really, why you want to stop yourself. It's obviously what she said is because she grew up in a family that was Christian. She grew up in a family where she wanted to be perfect in the eyes of her parents. And, I understand, once my mom found out that I was no longer a virgin, she said, you used to be as pure as the driven snow. That's literally what she said to me. And yeah, I was embarrassed and, hurt and thought of myself as dirty at that point. I totally get it. But at the same time, it's really, I can recognize it's a natural urge. And why do you want to repress this? Why do you want to make it as something to be proud of, that you're repressing yourself from acting on these urges? When you're already in a relationship with someone that you like, that you love, that you have this deep connection with, why would you stop yourself there? But what I was going to say is, she's demonizing men for wanting to, have sex initially in a relationship pretty soon. This really, to me, is not so bad, because you can determine pretty early on whether you are sexually compatible or not, and whether you should continue wasting your time, getting to know each other deeply, getting to know your families, you have to meet people's parents and meet people's brothers and sisters, right, and get involved, go on family trips and stuff, all this stuff. If you later on find out that you're not sexually compatible, you just, to me, it seems
then you
like
find
a
out
waste
you should
of
have
time.
you should have been just friends all along.
Yeah, you might as well have just been friends.
Yeah.
I guess that's what she's saying that she wants, but I don't really believe that's the case. I think she's really built it up in her mind as being this one stronghold that she has, and she doesn't want to let somebody in that way.
All these things, they're made worse by self-righteousness.
Yeah.
Self-righteousness and ignorance are a really destructive, really dangerous combination, whether it's in the context of religion or politics. And to me, I mean, everything she says with such self-righteous conviction is based on comparing something known to something unknown. She makes these stark, factual claims about sexuality. That sexuality is a merging of two people's souls and sharing a memory. Sorry, bitch, how would you know? What is this based on? Is that what you saw on Pornhub? Is that what you saw on the internet? Like, no! This is, this is self-righteous ignorance of the worst kind. And then she's doing it, to kind of cast judgment on the whole world around her as being less spiritually elevated than herself.
Right.
And it all rests on these unquestioned, hallowed abstractions. Higher self, your highest purpose, assumptions about the meaning of love, and so on too. And there are assumptions in her case that are not empirical. They're very much unproven and speculative. I don't know what it's like to drive a car. I can use my imagination.
Yeah.
If I was making similarly dogmatic statements about the type of focus and attention to detail you need, if I was saying to you in a totally certain way that I think it's impossible for people to talk on the cell phone while driving a car or something, well, I wouldn't know.
Well,
that's not an experience I've had. And of course, so I mean, just saying, and this is the kind of thing you get into, but it's way deeper. It's way deeper than a comparison to a car.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I can also relate to this. Sorry, I don't want to go on too long about this, but I can also relate in that I remember when I was in high school, I was adamant about never using drugs, and there was a certain amount of pride that I had in that.
Yep.
And once I had, I did not use many drugs. I used to smoke marijuana though. So now that I have had that experience, I don't feel this sense of pride or this sense of this is my purity, that I haven't had this experience. And I've heard other people try to explain mushrooms that experience, or try to convince me that I should try some other kind of drugs. I'm like, I really don't, like you said, I can use my imagination.
Yeah.
I can know scientifically what actually happens to the body on these drugs.
But drugs, as I said before, drugs are not part of your identity the way sexuality is.
Right,
Nothing
right.
is.
You
exactly. Embody and live your sexuality 24/7.
So true. Right. Driving a car is not part of who you actually are as a person. This really is.
Do I have urges? Do I have desires? Yes, of course. Do I still love and kiss on people and hold them and hug them? And yes, and I'm not a prude.
The politics of virginity. I've been thinking about this lately for totally unrelated reasons. In case you guys hadn't guessed, the topic of the evening, we're about to go to sleep, is that fully raw Kristina has come out of the closet as a virgin. She's gone public with the fact that allegedly she's a 32-year-old virgin. I'm hoping this is not clickbait. I'm hoping
it could be. I'm not sure.
hoping it's not I've never tried the Nintendo Switch before.
I don't know what to expect. I was just shocked to see this recommended video in my YouTube app, and I thought,
especially because she's someone who exploits her own sexuality on Instagram and to some extent on YouTube to such a big extent. Right. I think it would be fair to say she's a sex symbol for a certain demographic. A lot of women want to be her, and a lot of men want to have her, and yeah. I mean, that's absolutely how she's marketed herself. And, I'm not hating, but she did the video on, does she have real breasts or fake breasts? And, I mean, her whole channel is about the body, period. She can pretend it's about the body and the spirit of the mind, but it is not. It's about the body. It's about her body. And now, finally, we have made explicit something that's been implicit all along, her sexuality, right? I was talking to a female colleague in veganism. This is at least 6 months ago, a long time ago. And she said to me as a joke that she was engaged to get married, but that she and her fiancé had never slept together, that they were both going to be virgins. And in that I did not know she was joking. And I was like, really delicate about it, and I didn't even bring it up then, but like something like 2 months later, I said, look, I don't know if it's a bad time to talk about it, but you should know it's really unwise to get married to someone if you haven't slept with them first. I tried to raise this in the most delicate way, and she just laughed. She was like, oh, no, didn't you know I was joking? I was like, no, I do not know you like that. I did not know you were joking. I thought you were sincerely telling me you were planning to remain a virgin until marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that context. Somebody was...
Right.
Could just be honestly telling you that.
Right. So that's one thing that puts them in my mind. Another thing that puts this question in my mind is that we recently were looking at this kind of critique of sexual morality in the internet in the 21st century. I forget the YouTuber's name, this boring-ass YouTuber.
I don't know if I remember.
Yeah, I did a response to her.
Oh,
old boring, boring face. What's her name?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But she had a further discussion where, she's basically talking about, she claims that having sex with many different partners will never make you happy. She goes so far as to say that it is meaningless. And to me, that raises a lot of philosophical questions about what's meaningful and what's meaningless in life. I take a very hard stand against downhill skiing. I think downhill skiing and parachuting, parachute jumping, I think those things are meaningless, And I mean, there's a kind of counter argument, where do you draw the line for what's meaningless? I don't think human sexual relations are meaningless that way. I really don't. I think there are a lot of interesting philosophical issues there. But I mean, this is what the debate comes down to ultimately. Are you willing to actually valorize virginity? Are you willing to valorize living in ignorance of human sexuality? Right? I mean, that's what it is. What is virginity? It's a form of ignorance. And unlike downhill skiing or jumping out of an airplane with a parachute, it's not something that's tangential to human nature. Your sexuality is something you inhabit and carry with you and experience 24 hours a day. And I do not mean 12 hours a day. Even in your dreams, even while you're asleep, your sexuality is part of the experience of being a human being. Absolutely 24/7, So to remain ignorant of that and to regard that kind of self-selected ignorance, virginity as a virtue, I think it's destructive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting way to put it.
I know.
Ignorant. I mean, some people just haven't had the experience, so, I don't want to...
Sure.
It seems like
Up
a
to age.
negative aspect to say that it's like something that they're ignorant of if you...
Right.
There are people...
But that really is my position. That really is. And, so we have a friend, and he remained a virgin until about 30, right? And you remember I discussed it with him, and I talked about different aspects of it with him. I said to him, look, virginity is one element of this, just the actual sex. But having the experience of sharing an apartment with somebody, sharing a sink with somebody, doing dishes with somebody, there are so many other elements linked to this experience. Philosophical and resolving conflicts. And,
absolutely.
There's so much tied into it. Even just within the realm of desire and sexuality in the narrow sense. There's so much built into it. That sex, in my opinion, sex is never just sex. Not even if you want it to be just sex. There's so much dynamism in the human personality and pair bonding and stuff. I think even literally, if you watch interviews with porn stars, who have very brief professional interaction with other people sexually, sex is still not just sex. You know what I mean? Because it's this anyway. So there's a lot to it, and yeah, I do regard virginity completely negatively, and then that opens the door to this other debate, which will be in some other YouTube video. I mean, that doesn't mean I valorize sleeping with 100 different people or sleeping with 1,000 different people. And I'm saying you, pointing to her, not pointing to the camera, but I haven't lived my life that way. I mean, I've been free to.
This is an example of a topic we, like you and me, really haven't talked about.
I think we have. I think we totally have.
Really? Like,
sure.
I didn't know you would say it's like an absolute negative.
Okay, but to give an example, I guess
I'm just surprised. I'm not saying we've never talked about it.
We talked about it like in the context when I was saying to you, like, look, back when I lived in Thailand, I could have slept with 100 women, maybe 200.
Yeah, right.
Like, I really did. Like, have women stepping up to me every day. And not just Asian women, also white women. A lot of white women who were there as tourists. And I didn't do that, and this is why. These are my values in life, and these are my priorities.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't sleep with a whole ton of women. But this is my philosophical view of sexuality. And there's a real contrast there, you know what I mean? Yeah, that I regard this as totally negative.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I regard huge... So, look, guys, we got to... The bad news is
37 minutes in.
this is a 20-minute long video.
We haven't even clicked on Fully Raw Kristina's video.
If you've got to make a video titled "Why You're Still a Virgin," do 19 minutes and 21 seconds. I don't know if I can do it, Kristina. I don't know.
Let's see.
It's like the Star Wars movies. It opens with a text roll. You know what's open with?
You already know what I'm going to be talking about if you clicked on this video and if you read the title. And yep, it's true. I'm a virgin. You know, it's funny that people always say, like, oh, you're so innocent. I don't think it's that I'm innocent. I think there are a lot of reasons for discussing why I'm 30 years old and I've chosen to keep my virginity this long. And I really believe that me sharing this can help a lot of women and a lot of people and can really help bring strength to young girls as well when it comes down to it, because there's so much to be said about pressure to have sex in society, pressure to be something that you're not, pressure to do something. Many of you guys know that
It's all about society. It's all about the benighted individual in their struggle against society. I hate already the line of reasoning here, philosophically. I already think it's bullshit, you know?
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like naturally sympathetic to.
Right.
I think it's probably because I grew up in a Christian background, and like I knew what my mom really wanted for me was to be a virgin until marriage. Like,
right.
That's what she really wanted. And
but which one is characterized as pressure to be something you're not because of society? That to me is society putting pressure on you to be something you're not. This is an inversion of that. That's all. Yeah. Go on. Anyway, but you sympathize with the first.
There's a certain amount of indoctrination on both ways. Like, you know, I'm sorry. Like, I can sympathize with both. So, like, you know, I had this like Christian upbringing, but I also like felt that I was the age that I lost my virginity was like too late. You know, I can also sympathize with that pressure. What she's saying, like, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, but look. I mean, it's not symmetrical. It's not that there's indoctrination on both sides. Gay people are gay not because they're indoctrinated to be gay. And I experience my sexuality as a heterosexual man. Nobody taught me to feel this way, right? And
right. No one taught me to feel.
People who are afraid of snakes and afraid of spiders, they weren't taught to feel that. That's an instinct from a very raw, very real place. It's not something contrived. So these things are not equal. And virginity as a cultural concept and purity and all the religious baggage, that is completely culturally contrived.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whereas being afraid when you see a spider and being turned on when you see a member of the opposite sex or a member of the same sex, whatever you're into, you know, no. That's as real as it gets.
Feeling 100% confident in myself as a human, feeling confident and loving myself as a woman, especially as I've just turned 30 and I'm moving into a new stage in my life, and being super, super, super comfortable with every aspect of my life, my choices, my sexuality, my career, my family, my diet choices, my everything. Because for me, I couldn't imagine a greater gift to give my husband than the one thing that nobody else could possibly ever have from me. And yes, I grew up in a very Orthodox Christian family.
So she grew up with this Orthodox belief that it's a gift that you're, you know, giving to your partner.
So your ignorance and inexperience is a gift.
Yeah.
The fact that you're terrible in bed, that you don't know what you're doing, that you're probably afraid of and apprehensive of sex as a 32-year-old woman, whatever age she is.
Yeah.
You think that's a gift.
No, that's also really
Yeah.
messed up. I really don't
Yeah.
like that. And I think that's damaging to...
Preach.
If this is true, that a woman is valuable to a man as a virgin, then she's...
In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. The sexual experience then with the next partner is
Yes.
somehow devalued when
I know.
it could be seen as something
I
even
know.
better.
I know.
Because you have more experience and because you feel more comfortable, and because you know what you like, or like you don't know
Okay.
what you like. Like you
So-
have another experience and you decide.
Okay, so I have a friend. I've got to keep this real anonymous.
Yeah, of course.
I have a female friend, and she was a virgin when she got married.
Oh yeah.
And the marriage ultimately fell apart and ended in failure because they were not sexually compatible. Were there other reasons? Yeah. But that is the reason. Period. The other things were not as important, or the other things could be resolved and were resolved. There were other problems. That is it. Now, if you have only in your life had sex with one man, how do you even know whether you're sexually compatible or incompatible? And if you haven't had sex with him until after you're legally committed to spend the rest of your life with him, of course it's a formula for divorce. Of course it's a formula for disaster.
Yep.
So even if that were the only consideration, the concept of virginity being a gift is already totally undermined and made evil and counterproductive by that fact that you have to be able to tell whether or not you're sexually compatible with someone or how sexually compatible you are. You have to be able to get a feeling for that. You have to be able to evaluate. Because that, ultimately, you're not good at sex in a vacuum. You're good for someone else and with someone else. And with some other partner, the chemistry wouldn't be there, or the parts don't fit. I've literally had that experience. The parts do not always fit. Sometimes the compatibility is like Lego and Duplo or whatever. It doesn't work. Sometimes it's like that. But of course, most of the time it's going to be psychological. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be intellectual. It's going to be all those other intangible things. And that is just ridiculous. And there's
it would be damaging in the relationship too. Sorry to get whatever. This is a personal thing. The first relationship that I was in lasted a long time, and I really thought that I was going to be in that relationship for the rest of my life.
Right.
And there was a certain amount of dread that I felt that this was going to be the only person I had ever slept with, that I didn't know what the experience would be like with somebody else, and he kind of hung that over my head even when I talked about it, even when I talked honestly and openly about it. He was like, I should be everything that you need.
Right.
And
as if you could know. As if you'd be in a position to know that. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You can say it as a compliment, right?
Yeah, and our sex drives did not match up. So sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, people have different sex drives, is fine. But there were many reasons why I was unhappy in that relationship, and but to a certain extent,
but
I kind of felt
sexual
like
compatibility was a major factor. Just use the same terminology.
Yeah, but I kind of felt this pair bonding that happened. There would be some, I felt kind of like I needed to just okay, this is the person, just stick it out. I don't know why.
Right.
And it's really not the right
Okay,
way.
but I think it was partly because of virginity. Sorry,
Yeah.
you said it just a little bit, but you lost your virginity with him.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore you felt, right, she's going forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But
look,
there was something special in it being just one person.
Sure.
One person knows this about me or whatever.
There's something special about a lot. I'm not going to attack the something special thing. There's there's something special about the first time you did anything. You jumped out of an airplane or went downhill skiing.
Yeah, right.
I get it. I'm not going to take the something special away from you, people. I'm not here to do that.
Yeah.
But this concept that your virginity is a gift, that to me is really toxic. It's really damaging.
Yeah.
So Melissa, I've never driven a car. In my whole life, I've never once driven a car.
You've never even been in the driver's seat?
No.
Oh.
So is that a gift? Like, is that a gift to you, or like, what does it mean? Like, oh, I'm in this.
I'll take your driving virginity.
We've talked about that she may teach me how to drive a car, but like my ignorance of driving a car is not a gift. It's not my ability to teach her Chinese may be a gift. I'm tutoring her in Chinese.
It's a good comparison.
No, but that's a gift. I mean, that really is. Maybe I have a gift with languages. Whatever. I have a gift with politics. There are things I can share with you. Philosophy. Been reading Taoist philosophy lately and all kinds of stuff. Right. Okay, so those are gifts. That's something positive. But none of them are ignorance. They're all based on knowledge and ability and experience and something positive to share with you. But the fact that I've never driven a car doesn't mean that I'm incapable of feeling whether or not I and this car are compatible. That's the sense in which nothing else is like sex. Nothing else, you see? Look, the other thing I want to say real quick is the gender asymmetry involved. At one point in this unbelievably boring video, she asks herself the question, what is she looking for in her perfect man, in her ideal man? She doesn't say virginity. She's not looking for a man who's a virgin. Why do you think that is, Kristina? And why do you think men are looking for that in you? Some are.
Oh, yeah.
The worst men on earth are the men who want to marry a virgin. Specifically and especially the men who want to marry a 30-year-old virgin. Those guys are trouble. And I want to point out, too, in terms of how the taboo works, I made a video about how I lost my own virginity and philosophizing about it. That's in the title. The title is How I Lost My Virginity, Philosophy and Politics.
Yeah.
And you can see I have 88 thumbs down and 43 thumbs up. And it was one of my most hated videos. The competition is pretty fierce there. What is my most hated video? But this is definitely something where women talking about it from a women's perspective is treated completely differently. And this delusion that ignorance is a gift.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the more hallowed. It's all the more hallowed when it's a woman rather than a man. Because if a man is fumbling and incompetent and lacks confidence in the bedroom, you see that as completely negative. And what do you think when a woman does those things? It's beguiling and charming. It's ridiculous. Yes, some people convince themselves as that, but really, if you look at it in a detached, gender-neutral way, ignorance is ignorance for men, women alike.
No, I mean, I just think it's funny. At the start of this video, I really was giving her a chance, and when you said like that, you just see virginity as negative. After hearing her stance on it, I don't know if it's necessarily just like the only like the way that she says it, being so self-righteous about it, really made me immediately want to I was like, okay, we need to record again because like we need to talk about it more because after I'd heard her reasoning, to me it just seemed like, why are you proud of this? Like you have experience in relationships in other ways, but like you should have this experience as a human being. You've said
she doesn't want to be a human being. That's what it is.
You've said you're a sexual person. No. You've said that you have urges.
She has the delusion that she's an angel trapped in human flesh. That's what it's all about. It's all about, no. I won't admit to myself that I'm a type of monkey that walks around on two legs. I won't admit to myself that I'm an animal that happens to have much more reasoning capacity than other animals. Mm-hmm. And only when we're sober and only when we're well rested. If I'm sleep deprived for a few days, I'm a lot more like every other animal, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. It's clinging to that delusion. The delusion that the soul is more real than the mind. And on the contrary, the soul is nothing but a figment of the imagination. And human sexuality is all too real.
I mean, really, people like to disrespect my crew, but the fact is that you know my name and I don't know you.